was there like, I don't know, stuff, were there different fears or the same fears or both in terms of you telling your friends versus your family?
Friends were definitely easier because family was going to watch you. And they were, you know, if you told, I remember just being scared of telling my mom, not because of her reaction, but because then she would then watch me eat and then she would make sure that I ate. Whereas friends, you know, they can watch you in lunch and they can be like, you should eat your lunch, you should eat your lunch, but like, they don't really, they can do around you. Like, they're just, you know, telling a friend is more of a support and telling a parent is almost like, they encourage you to treat to tell on yourself and be like, listen, Mom, I only had a Diet Coke for dinner last night, so you're going to need to watch me 3 meals a day. And if you're not committed, that's going to be hard. And if you're not committed to recovery, that's going to be hard to do. So family is definitely harder, but definitely not more helpful, but a different kind of helpful.
Is it okay if I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
As a friend who watched Rebecca Kaiserman do this for a number of years, can you share a little? Would you be willing to share a little bit about how that was for you as a friend?
Well, I remember the first time you told me anything. We were on the bus. Do you remember? We were on the bus, and it was almost our stop. You said, Ellie, I have to tell you something. I was like, what? You're like, I threw up my food last night. And you stopped. It's like, that's kind of like the thing you hear about people, you know, like having eating disorders and cutting and having sex, and that's like so high school, and we were in freshman year, and I was like, okay, when we get off the bus, just laugh, because I knew your mom was going to be there. Remember she would drive us home?
Yeah.
Or she would drive me home, then you guys would go home.
Yeah.
And I was like, just laugh then. Just start laughing, just start laughing, just start laughing. So we got off the bus, we were laughing hysterically, because I didn't want to have to deal with it at that moment, because I knew we were going to talk to your mom. It was just like, it was one of those things that I never thought I would have to confront, almost. And it wasn't me confronting it, but it's like kind of what you were saying. It was a difficult situation because you're one of my best friends, and there's only so much I can do as a friend. And you get these pressures from both sides, because my mom would say, Ellie, you have to watch Beck. And you'd say, Ellie, don't tell your mom that I didn't do this, because then she'll tell my mom. So it's like, where does my loyalty lie in terms of her health or the way she thinks of me right now? It was a weird balance, but I hope I did it well.
Yeah, and I remember you saying junior year we were walking in Target, and do you remember this? We were walking in Target, and we were like acting like a power couple.
Yes!
And like, yeah, like let's get this done. And like, we were like checking off some. I was checking off a list for coach reading. You were checking off a list for camp, and you just like at that point I was still sick. I was like in recovery mode in front of my parents, but other than that, I was kind of skipping, you know, where I could. And you looked at me and you were like, Beck, you don't look good. And do you remember that?
Yeah.
You really don't look good. And I was like, yes I do, I'm fine. Like, I don't even know what it said, but I'm sure it was like...
Oh, you argued with me.
I'm sure.
You argued with me whenever I say something like that.
Yeah, and like, I think that kind of like, I went home and I did think about it, and like, I didn't really think about it, but I did think about it. And, you know, it's like one of my best friends told me that I don't look good. It's kind of like, you know, you wouldn't say that to anyone, really, but like, I don't know, to have it come from someone who means so much to you, to see me through it. By that point, she was already with me through treatment, so like, you know, for her to like kind of, it was almost like a rude awakening. Like, I really must be doing something not healthy.
No, I remember because you said, because I meant it as like you didn't look healthy, but you got offended because you were like, how can you tell me I don't look good? Like, you know that means a lot to me. I felt awful. Because I was like, oh, I really messed up. And I didn't. Yeah. I don't know if that was anything like what you wanted to hear.
No, I mean, just I was interested, and I think that it's you know, with all of the, you know, when we had Randy Kay come in at the very beginning of the semester, you know, that it's a whole different thing to hear people share from their own experience than, you know, to to just read stats or watch a documentary, or if I, originally on my original list, before we kind of recreated the course together, I had like, there was a school counsellor who I was going to ask to come in and talk about it. But this would have been a whole different experience if it had been a counsellor who hasn't directly experienced this, but might have been the kind of person that you go to, but they're coming from their professional lens, and the kind of speech or lecture that they would want to give us would be so completely different to what we heard from you. And to hear you kind of come out the other end. I know I asked this question at school, but would you just tell the group a little bit about some of what you shared with me about kind of online sort of networks, both positive and negative, and sort of what's out there? Because now we talk about knowing that you're not alone. These days with social media, it's so much easier to find people and to find information than it ever used to be. But there's pluses and minuses to that, so I think you could talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's support groups online. Something I think it's something fishy with the hyphen in between. I think that's the website where there's a support group. They put up trigger warnings, which is like trigger is if you like if someone. When I was really sick, I used to stare run when my parents weren't home. So if someone was telling a story about stare running, it'd be like trigger warning. And if I knew that I was easily triggered, I'd be like, I don't read that. So and if I was in for it, if I was up for it, or I was seeing a therapist in the next hour, then I'd be like, okay, I can handle this. So online support groups really, really awesome because they remind you you're not alone, and they give you contacts. If you're struggling, you can most likely find someone who's struggling similarly. However, there are pro-ana websites, which is pro-anorexic, and there's Binspo, which is Binspiration, and they basically encourage eating disorders, and they say they teach you how to have an eating disorder, which is impossible because it's a mental illness, so you can't teach someone. You can teach someone to follow the habits and to count calories and to exercise the same way that someone sick would, but you can't teach someone to be diagnosed with bulimia or with pica or something. It just doesn't. You just can't do that. There's nothing. I feel bad being like there's nothing you can do about it because there is. You can go to these websites and you can find the email of the creator. A lot of times they'll have their email up there, to share tips with all the followers who just drive me nuts. And you can email them and be like, I understand if this is what you want, and it's really sad, and I wish you luck in your recovery and your life, but please take this down because I don't want my future son, daughter, niece, sister, fill in the blank, seeing this website. And I always thought about that. I was babysitting, I didn't tell the story yet, but I was babysitting this past summer, and I was sick, and I took my girls to the pool, and I took off my shorts and my shirt and had a bikini underneath, I swear. And I was kind of fidgeting with the bathing suit, and in the back of my mind I was like, I don't want my girls to see this because I don't want them to, kind of pick up and then to get self-conscious because that's not what I want for my daughters. But my future daughters. I was kind of fidgeting with my baby suit, and Annette said, Becky, you look fine, let's just go. And my heart broke, and I kind of snapped, like, that's not, oh God, I don't want to teach my children that, I don't want to teach anyone that.
She's 4, by the way.
Yeah, she's 4, thank you. She's 4, and but then Sophia was like already on her own in the pool. Yeah. And so those websites, get back to those websites, just email them and be like, I don't want my children seeing this, I don't want to see this, but I really do want the future generation to have to grow up like I've grown up. So just encourage them to keep it down. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So,
yeah, one sec. How are you?
oh,
Happy.
thank you.